Hi guys, welcome here to my 2023 homeschool space tour. I thought I've got a spare second, so I'm going to quickly whip around and just show you our homeschool space. You can probably hear my kids in the background. They're outside playing with the hose, and honestly they could barge in at any moment. So my house is not all picked up and clean and tidy, although it might look like it from just like the angle, but there's mess everywhere. I'll show you a little bit of it. This is a real homeschool space tour. We live in a smallish home. It's not tiny, but it's on the smaller side for a family. And it is our kitchen, living, dining area, and homeschool space. And we use it for all of those things. And so it's got many purposes. It is very rarely clean and tidy because we do a lot of living in it. So I'm going to show you what we're using right now. We are going to be changing a couple things this year. And what else was I going to say to you? I don't know. I can't remember. I'll just show you how we use our space. Some of it's changing. Some of it is the same as last year. A lot of it's the same as last year. But I will be changing a couple of things. So enjoy. Okay, so we're going to start with like the storage / working area. This is an area off of our living room, which look, Nerf gun there. I told you guys it's not picked up. This is our living room here. Okay, this is like the pretty Pinterest worthy pot that I can show you. The cushions are all on the couch. Usually those are all over the floor and there's throw blankets everywhere because the kids make forts. But anyway, I picked it up just for the sake of this video. There is a skipping rope there and stuff there. It's been a bit of a hectic week. But this is a little room that is off our living area. It used to be a porch or a deck, and it was closed in before we bought this house, and we use it as our office / playroom / homeschool space. I'll explain all that in a second. But this is where I keep the kids' homeschool books. So they each have a basket. This is for my 6-year-old. This is for my preschooler. She's actually got another basket, which I'll show you in a minute. And this is for my 7, almost 8-year-old. And so they've got all their things in there, and so that's just how I keep things organized. They can come and fetch stuff, and yeah. And then this bookcase is actually what is changing, because I've loved having this set up, and I use it really well. It's full of toys, and there's some books in there, and some coloring and supplies. And I mostly use this for my preschooler for when I am busy teaching the older kids. She loves to come in here and play with these toys. So what I'm planning on doing is upgrading it to an IKEA Kallax unit with some doors on it and some sturdier cubes. It'll be a bigger unit. It'll be wider and taller, and it should just be a bit sturdier. I might even get some feet from the hardware store, some legs, to put on the bottom of it to make it more like a proper furniture piece. We'll see. So, but things like these puzzles, love them, but they don't fit in here, and I don't really have anywhere else to put them. So with the new unit, I should be able to put those in there. I'm just biding my time, but I will get one hopefully in the next couple of months, and I'm very much looking forward to redoing that, because it functions very well in the sense that it's the way I want to use it. Like, the setup is right. It just needs to be bigger. So there's that. Now, this stuff that's all sitting here does not usually sit in here. We had a cyclone come over New Zealand over the past couple of days, and so my husband had all this stuff in here just in case. Thankfully, our region was relatively untouched. We had some slips and trees down, but very, very minimal flooding. We usually flood terribly, and thankfully we did not. However, other regions in New Zealand are absolutely devastated. Like, I've never seen it that bad before. My own sister is currently cut off from the rest of the country. They have no power, no cell reception, nothing. So this looks like overkill to some people. It was overkill because we weren't affected, but had we been affected, I would have been very grateful to have all that stuff. So here's where you're going to see mess. Are you ready for it? This is my daughter's crafting / play table, and it literally looks like this all the time because I cannot keep on top of the mess. But my husband converted this as an IKEA desktop. It used to be my old desk, and then we just got these legs from the hardware store and converted this into a play table. And the little stools are from Kmart. They were cheap. But my girls sit here and play all sorts of crafting things all the time. My middle daughter loves to sit and color here, so that's her little spot that she does that in, and I get her to clean it up every now and again, but it basically constantly looks like this, which, yes, does drive me crazy, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I have to spend them doing things that are helpful to my family, and cleaning this corner constantly isn't really going to be that. So, yeah, but she actually does a bit of her schoolwork here now. She does some independent work, so she has to clear it enough to be able to use it. Okay, now let's turn around here. Again, functioning space. I've got my vacuum cleaner sitting there. This is the bookcase where I keep a lot of our homeschool supplies. So in here is more like stationery items and stuff. I've got my coils for binding. I've got some like my laminator and paper and old KiwiCo boxes, which my kids found the other day and were like, what are these for, Mom? Why haven't we done them yet? And I actually can't remember. I need to look at them. I think I stored them away for a day where it was rainy and we just haven't used them yet. But that's what that bookshelf is for. This is the IKEA Billy bookcase, and I love it. Sewing machines, I need to sort those out as well. But this is where I keep all our Sunlight books. So this is also our Osmo stuff. So we use this with the iPad. The kids love to play with these on a rainy day. I've just got some like flashcards there. This is the other little basket I use with my preschooler. This has got all her Sunlight manipulatives in it and her salt tray for doing her letters. And then these are all the preschool books, which I actually want to put like little colored tapes on them so I can keep it all together and things don't get confusing. But that's where I keep her preschool stuff. Up here I just have some random notebooks and readers and files. And then I have all of the kids' independent readers. So that's grade 1 and 2. And then our science and history, literature, all here. And then you can see I've got some games there as well. And then the top shelf's got some art supplies and just random books and things like that. So that's what that bookshelf is used for. I'm hoping when I upgrade the other little unit that we've got here to the IKEA Kallax, I can fit things like those games in there. And I might actually put them in like bags instead of having them in boxes. So there's that. Now we move on to where I have some more homeschool stuff. This is one of my favorite spaces in our house. These chairs I got on Facebook or Trade Me, which is kind of like eBay. I think I paid like $500 for them a few years ago, and I just made covers for them this summer, which were so tedious to make, but I'm glad I did it because now they're nice and neutral. And this is where I sit and do like my quiet time in the morning and reading and things like that. This is where I often will curl up with one of the kids to read a book. Love this little spot. And then I've got a bookshelf here where obviously I just have all of our books. I've got our globe up the top there. Love that globe. It was not cheap, but I just love it. We use it so much and I love it. It was well worth the investment. And then I just have all of the books. There's books behind that picture frames. Like there's lots of books in there. So and leftover chocolate from Christmas. I think it has Lindt chocolate is amazing, but I don't like dark chocolate, and I'm pretty sure there's like 2 dark chocolate ones in there, so it's just sitting there for when someone wants to eat it. But yeah, that's that bookshelf, and I pull from that occasionally, but it's just where I still roll out books. And then here is the piano. We don't really use that for anything aside from when we do our hymn study, I play and the kids sing. So yeah. And then this is where everything happens. This is where it all goes down. This is our homeschool space where we work. So the kids just grab their books and we work on here. Sorry, you can totally hear my kids screaming. It is happy screaming. They're playing with the hose and having a lot of fun. It's a very, very hot day here. But this is where we play. I need to clean this board down, but often I'll use this board for like doing math work and stuff like that with the kids. This my husband built in, I think it was in 2020 actually, and during one of the lockdowns, and we built that, and that's got it doesn't actually have a ton of homeschool stuff in it because it's not actually easy to access because you have to pull the pillows off and everything. Sorry, brief interlude to deal with screaming children. The screaming went from happy to sad very quickly. Anyway, this is where we do our school. The kids usually all sit along there and I read to them. We have breakfast and I read. I keep this over here. Our kitchen's just in here, and I'm not showing it all to you because it's a mess. This is where I keep all of my stuff. These are all the books that we use for like literature and history and all that kind of stuff. I've got my Sunlight cores in here, which I just bound. I laminated the covers and bound them, and Bible. I've got a little pencil case here just for my stuff. Our scripture memory verses are in here. Poetry books. I love these poetry books. And some math stuff. Yeah, maps for doing our geography and history and all that. I've got this one as well. So all of that is in this basket, which is very valuable. It's my teacher's basket. And then this little thing is a new addition. I'll actually pop it on the table. You can see it better over here. This was my mom's, and it's a cutlery holder. I mean, we had this. I can't even tell you how many years. This was in my childhood home. And it's made out of rimu, which is a beautiful New Zealand wood. It's very solid. And she was getting rid of it, and she didn't want to just like chuck it out. And she's like, does anyone want this? And I was like, that would be the perfect little caddy for all of our stationery items. So that is what I'm using it for. I've just got like twistables in here and a whole bunch of markers and glue and paintbrushes, which these have seen better days. These, I need to upgrade these. Pencil sharpeners. I chucked a bunch of pencils in here and scissors. These are just like some math manipulatives and DIY Lego math manipulatives and glue sticks. So that is what we're using this for, and it is working beautifully. Last year I tried having my kids all have their own pencil cases, and it just didn't work out how I wanted it to. They would forever be losing pencils and stuff. Whereas if I've got it all here in like a communal thing, I know that there are pencils there. So when they say, Mom, I can't find a pencil, then I can direct them here because I know they're in here. So I can keep this stocked. And it looks nice, and it's super easy to cut around. So I'm sorry, I cannot give you a link or anything for that because I have no idea where it came from. But that is our homeschool space. This is how we do our homeschool. I have been in the mornings when my son is, when I'm doing preschool with my daughter, I send the older two off. Like I mentioned before, my middle daughter's using her play desk there to do some school, and then my son has a desk in his room, and so he's been doing a little bit of school in there. But this is where we live and cook and play and relax, and all of the things happens in here. It's all pretty open plan, which it is what it is. There's a lot of noise, so we make it work for us. There's my desk over there where I do all of my work, and if my son needs to do like work on for school, there it is. But this is the mess in all its glory. Hopefully this will be going into our garage this weekend, and I can have my space back, and that will be upgraded. But yeah, I actually really love our living space now. It's taken years to get it to a point where it works well for our family, but it does now. So like I walk in here and I'm like, I really like this space. And we actually just did the board and batten this summer, was a new addition, and I actually did it on that wall as well. It just adds a lot of coziness to it, and I love it. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. Sorry, I'll take my glasses off because the glare is always so bad. But I hope you found it helpful. I hope that it shows you that you don't need like a dedicated homeschool room to do school. When I was growing up and I was homeschooled, there was only one time we had a dedicated homeschool room, and we ended up going back to the living area after a while. It's so not a necessity. Is it nice to have that? Maybe. But I actually, sorry, I'm going to sit down because my arm's tired. I actually like it the way it is, and it kind of forces you to clean up after yourself because you've got to use the same table for eating at and everything, and so it's helpful. And like I think what is super helpful, and I've said this with like just housing in general, your space doesn't have to be big if you have good storage. If you can get good storage, then you can make even the smallest spaces work. And that is what I found with our homeschooling as well, like just having some really solid storage options like bookshelves and storage units and stuff does help. I do also keep books and like resources that we're not using this school year out in our garage. I have just like the big plastic bins. I have 2 of those, and they are full of books and stuff. A lot of it I'm holding on to for my siblings because they're going to be homeschooling their kids, but their kids are only like 2 years old right now. So in a couple years, I'll be able to start passing on those preschool resources. But there are a few things that I'm hanging on to, obviously, that I've used with my older kids now that I'll use for younger kids. So, yeah. that's how we work, and that's how we homeschool. And I think one of the things that is really lovely about our living room, and I have never taken it for granted, is just how full of light and sunshine it is. I remember the first morning that we had moved into this house, and it looked very, very different back then. Like, this little office space that I'm sitting in now had like astroturf on the ground and purple walls and a ranch slider between like the office space and this living room. It was very different. We had brown walls. Everything was brown. But when I walked through the kitchen and I opened up the curtains and just the morning light streamed in, I was just so, so grateful. And light just fills your soul, you know, and just like, it makes such a difference. So I'm very grateful for that. And that even during the winter days, we still get lots of light flooding in, and that's very helpful. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful and inspiring. Take from it what is helpful and discard the rest. Don't worry about it. And understand that I'm usually living in a state of constant mess. It's just a changing mess because I clean up one area and another area gets used up, and, you know, 3 kids and small spaces, it's just life. But having a small space kind of forces you to clean it up because you can't just close the door and forget about it. Anyway, thank you for watching. Any questions for me, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
What if the world had more of your smile? What if the wind could spread your love? What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars,